Miss Fitzgerald.
Well, that should have stole my thunder. What can I do if I repeat what Jack said? A man, a poet, a writer, Chris Fitzgerald.
Thank you. This is a work in progress, like the Red Sox pennant chase. I first read a slightly different version of this April 4th, which was supposed to be the opening day of the Red Sox season. But rain interceded, and the first game was played on a Tuesday. Stone Soup poetry never gets rained out. This is the first Monday of the '88 season that I can recall the Red Sox being in first place. I seem to like it when life imitates art. I'll be reading a piece concerning an event which occurred on or about 11:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on October 25th, 1986. But first, I want to discuss why I write poetry. I write poetry because I have found that poetry gives my life order and structure. I have a release for the images and ideas that seem to impose themselves on my consciousness. I write them down on paper, trying with language to exhaust them via my sensibility's capability, and then I experience what I'll call a sense of freedom. James Joyce wrote, "Art has a cause, no purpose, namely necessity, the imperative inward necessity for the imagination to recreate from life its own ordered synthesis." So I deal with the images in an honest manner, that is, my own voice, and they don't haunt me anymore. But just like life, the next day, the next week, or the next month, something new seems to be imposing itself on my consciousness and requires a dealing with. So I'm glad I have this form, this tradition, thousands of years young. Before I was born it was here, after I'm dead it'll still be here. I guess poetry helps communicate to the world outside of myself that I enjoy being alive. I mean, what would I do? What would I be doing if it wasn't for life? Would I have a job, clean underwear, a buck in my pocket? Poetry is an art, and as Joseph Brodsky has so eloquently stated, what distinguishes art from life is the ability of the former to produce a higher degree of lyricism than is possible than in any human interplay. Hence poetry's affinity with, if not the very invention of, the notion of an afterlife. Baseball has been a part of my life since I was 5 years old. Here's a piece of it. We're back to October 25th, 1986. We're in Shea Stadium, New York, New York. The city's so nice they had to name it twice. Calvin Schiraldi, the Boston Red Sox, is on the mound of the baseball diamond, and he is facing Gary Carter of the New York Mets. There are 2 outs, nobody on base. The Red Sox are leading 5-3. They're also leading the World Series 3-2. The Red Sox team has been in this situation before. In 1946, they were up 3-2 with the St. Louis Cardinals and lost it in 7. In 1918, they were up 3-2 with the Cubs and won it in 6. And in 1912, 3-2 with the Giants and won it in 8. There was no night baseball at the time, and one of the games that ended in a tie. I went to the Colonial Theater during the last week of March and saw Christopher Plummer and Glenda Jackson in Macbeth. Macbeth is a play that is almost 400 years old. Although there were new actors on the stage with different mannerisms and nuances, it is still the same play that William Shakespeare wrote. So I hope you can see the same similarity with the 1986 Red Sox team, being the same team as the 1912 Red Sox team, possessing the same object as the 1912 team, which is having more runs scored in the last game of the baseball season than their opponent. Schiraldi is sweating like he has 10,000 pounds of pressure on him. But I am more familiar with the history of the Red Sox than this kid from Texas. He has 1,000,000 tons of pressure on him. The first thing causing this pressure is, of course, January 9th, 1920, when Jacob Rupert, owner of the Yankees, announced to a group of New York reporters that he had purchased from the Red Sox the services of one George Herman, Babe Ruth. Up until that time, the Red Sox had been in 5 World Series and won all 5. The Yankees hadn't won any. Since then, the Red Sox have not yet won another World Series. The Yankees have won 22. Since that time, the Red Sox have been in 3 World Series and lost each in 7 games, in 46, 67, 75. I am watching the game in the living room of my mother's house. I had moved out of my apartment a month ago and was going to Europe with anticipation of what Yogi Berra has called the world seriousness. I postponed my departure until after the World Series. My mother. People in my society sometimes blame their parents for not giving them enough attention or treating the other members of their family in a more favorable fashion. I never had any of those excuses. What I did have, my mother had been born in 1918. The Red Sox had won a World Series in 1918. That's what I always blame my mother for. Mere coincidence didn't seem to satisfy for an answer. Will you take out the garbage, son? Sorry, Mother, you Red Sox jinx, you. You will have to find someone else to do your dirty work for you. And you wash behind your ears to complete the double play. The second big reason provoking the pressure on Schiraldi, and it happened in my lifetime, was the failure of the Red Sox front office to send out a contract on time to a man called Carlton Pudge Fisk, thus losing the services of the best Red Sox player I had ever seen. Fisk, maybe because he was from New Hampshire, enjoyed being a Red Sox and played at being a Red Sox 100% of the time. That is all one can ever ask for any member of a group. While Schiraldi is sweating, not the manager, not the catcher, not an infielder comes over to the mound and says a word to help relax the team's pitcher. I know how one word can change another person's mood. Carlton Fisk would have went out to the mound, and I think it would have played like this. Calvin, I've been thinking. I'm not really in the champagne drinking mood. I mean tonight. Oh, commencing at 9:45 a.m. tomorrow, it'll be champagne 30 days running. But tonight, a case of Sam Adams, pizza, pepper and onion. What do you think? Well, Pudge, I don't know. Calvin, relax. Let's bring this baby to blank home. The Carter singles and the deluge begins, and the Red Sox lose another World Series. Alas, as the poet once wrote, of all the words of mice and men, the saddest hour it might have been. But not to leave on a depressing note. Here is a classic quatrain from Alexander Pope. I took the liberty of changing the last 2 lines. Pope has been dead for 244 years, so what's he gonna do, haunt me? Get in line, pal. Hope springs eternal in the human breast. Man never is, but always to be blessed. Red Sox champions on a double dare without Ruth or Fisk. Well, maybe this year. Thank you.